At my highest weight ever, I had a DEXA scan done. The result? 14.9% body fat. I had built more muscle than I had ever built in my entire life. I felt better than I'd ever felt in my entire life. And I got there by doing less than I'd ever done in my entire fitness journey. I want to tell you how I got there because the path looks nothing like what you would expect. But first, I have to tell you about the girl who was doing 20,000 steps a day, training for a half marathon, counting every single freaking macro, working out sometimes twice a day, CrossFit and lifting. And eventually that same girl gained 20 pounds anyways. That girl was me. And if any of that sounds familiar, stay with me because this video is for you. So, my story. I never had a weight problem until I did everything right. I want to start at the very beginning because I think it matters for you to hear my story. I spent my entire life thin. I know, don't hate me. We'll get to a point where I wasn't. I never struggled with it, never had a bad relationship with food, had no idea what calories were, absolutely no clue what a macro was. Couldn't have told you what really like carb, fat, proteins were. I mean, obviously I had a general idea, but I just ate when I was hungry. My definition of healthy was that my mom cooked dinner for us every night. And so that's what I did for my family as well. Underneath all of that, from a very, very young age, I was dealing with depression, anxiety, gut issues, sleep problems. My brain never stopped racing. I never knew what it felt like to have peace in my own head. I just thought that was how the brain worked. I had no idea any of it was connected to what I was eating, how I was moving, how I was taking care of myself. No one ever asked that, and no one ever told me that. I danced my whole life, cheered in high school and college, loved being active, but I never stepped foot inside a gym outside of whatever sport I was doing. So food and fitness were things you only paid attention to if you needed to lose weight. I didn't, so I didn't. And then I hit 30. Had kids, moved to a work from home desk job, and started to feel like complete and total garbage. Like I was 60 years old. I went to doctors, I had labs ran, and the answers I kept getting is everything looks fine. Best of luck. Why? Because I wasn't overweight. So nobody ever asked me what I was eating. Nobody ever asked me if I was getting any movement at all because there was nothing to fix, right? Not with food and exercise. A friend of mine finally convinced me to try CrossFit. She said movement would make me feel better. She also tried to get me to pay attention to my nutrition, but I was not ready to listen to that part yet. I did start moving and I did start feeling better. I met my first nutrition coach there, and she was the first person that ever looked at me and said, well, what are you actually eating? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I ate pretty good. Like, I had a Cliff Bar on the way here. Cliff Bars, by the way, have about 300 calories and 3 grams of protein. And that was what healthy looked like to me. I genuinely did not know. So I got into macros, whole food based, started prioritizing protein for the first time in my life, and I felt so much better. My sleep did improve, my energy did improve, started seeing body composition changes, and I was completely bought in. And then, like we tend to do with good things, I took it way too far. So CrossFit, lifting, half marathon training, 20,000 steps a day, less food, more output, right? So on the outside, I was having the best physique of my life. On the inside, completely falling apart. I, not to be dramatic, thought I was dying and nobody could tell me why. So I lost my cycle. I started losing my hair. I got COVID 5 times. My gut issues that I'd had my entire life went from not just bad to catastrophic. My anxiety was so severe, I felt like I was literally vibrating all the time. Still counting macros, still working out, still doing all the right things on paper. I went to GI doctors. My labs were all over the place. The advice that I got, maybe cut out dairy, and if you drink soda, drink it through a straw. That was it. That was the medical advice that I received. I was convinced something was seriously wrong with me. There was also something happening at night that I didn't understand and I didn't talk about for a really long time. So I was on actually 2 sleep medications, and one called Seroquel It has a side effect that can cause you to eat while you're essentially half asleep without full awareness. I didn't know that. My doctor never told me that. I went to sleep specialists. Nobody ever followed up with me. They just refilled my prescriptions. If you are on any sleep medication, please look up the full side effect profile and have that conversation with your provider. I'm not saying don't take it. I'm saying know what you're taking. I would go upstairs half awake and eat everything in the pantry. I felt completely out of control. And that feeling started to bleed into my days as well. So between the undereating, the overtraining, a gut condition that I didn't know that I had that was essentially leaving me malnourished, I had developed a very unhealthy relationship with food. Binge eating, emotional eating, feeling like I had absolutely no control, and literally the only thing that mattered in my life was what I was fixing to eat next. So within about a year, I had lost my cycle, lost a significant amount of hair, gained 20 pounds, still tracking macros, and still working out every day. And I didn't tell anyone for a long time. I became genuinely convinced I was having a nervous breakdown. I was running a coaching business, working a corporate job, being the primary parent of 2 kids, staying up later, getting up earlier, and inside I was gone. Very vulnerable, and kind of funny now story, but I remember becoming fixated on the laundry. Like if I could just get on top of the laundry, everything would be okay, but I could never get there. And looking back, I think part of me didn't let myself get there because what if I did and things weren't okay? What if the laundry wasn't actually the problem? I had 2 beautiful kids. I had a great husband, a thriving business, amazing friends. And I didn't want to live that life anymore. Not because I wanted to hurt myself, but because I didn't recognize myself. I would promise myself that if I could just get through the day, I could get back into the bed. I finally broke down and I told my husband. And then I told my mom. And just telling someone, just saying it out loud helped me more than I can explain. I felt less alone, less broken, I had a little hope. I stopped trying to fix my body and started to try to save my life. I figured out the medication situation and took it out. And I got serious about finding actual answers. I went the functional medicine route. For the first time, I had doctors who asked the right questions. I had already figured out that I had a bacteria, likely SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. They tested, I did 2 rounds of antibiotics to clear it, and then I started working with a naturopath on a very gut-specific healing protocol for months. For the first time in 40 years, my gut worked. I had had an IBS my entire life, and I didn't know that wasn't just how bodies felt. Then I had my hormones properly tested. I was 37. My OBGYN had told me my labs were fine. They were not. My testosterone and progesterone were tanked. I had thyroid issues that had never been caught because most conventional doctors don't run full thyroid panels. I got started on bioidentical HRT and thyroid support, and I started to feel like myself again for the first time in years. And then I did something that felt completely insane to the old version of me. I did less. I dropped down to 4 days of lifting a week, 10,000 steps. I started yoga, got into Pilates, started meditating, journaling, breath work, hypnosis, things that I promise you I would have rolled my eyes so hard on at, a couple years before. But I was desperate, and desperate people try things. I started drinking water first thing in the morning, eating food before caffeine, cut out a shit ton of caffeine, protected sleep like it was sacred, saying no to things, putting myself first, which felt selfish for a really long time before it felt absolutely necessary. The most important shift wasn't a supplement or a protocol, it was the mindset work. And I know that's not sexy, I know that's not easy to sell, but I'd be lying to you if I told you I got to where I am without it. If you don't do the work on your mindset, you'll never get where you want to be with your body. That is my honest belief after 15 years in this industry. I stopped trying to fix my body. I started to try to heal my whole self. And fat loss, real sustainable fat loss, turns out is a byproduct of that. Here's what happened when I stopped doing more. Once I had healed my gut, stabilized my hormones, done the mindset work, I decided I was going to go into a dedicated lean build with a coach. So I ate in a calorie surplus for over a year. I put on 18 pounds, never had to change my clothing size, which tells us that was more muscle, less fat. Obviously still got to gain some weight, right? But big portion of it was muscle. And at my highest weight ever, I had this DEXA scan done. I was 14.9% body fat. That was what was underneath those 18 pounds, like almost all muscle. I'm almost 44 years old. I lift heavy 4 days a week. I hit my steps. I do my sauna, my red light, my castor oil packs. I drink my water and my electrolytes. I eat mostly whole foods. I protect my sleep like my life depends on it because I know now that it kind of does. I am on bioidentical HRT. I have used peptides for 2 years, and right now I'm currently in a photo shoot prep cut. And I have the best relationship with food that I've ever had in my whole life. But here's what I want you to hear, because this is the part that nobody talks about. I never knew I could have peace in my brain. I spent 40-something years with a mind that never stopped racing. I thought that was just me. It turns out it was a body that was begging for support that I didn't know how to give it. Never thought that I could just lay down and fall asleep, and especially go back to sleep when I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Never thought that I could have a gut that just worked. Sounds silly, but going to the bathroom every day without planning around it and taking all these medications is completely still crazy to me. Never thought that I would go a full year without getting sick. And I never, ever, ever thought that I would love my body at a higher weight than what I thought it was supposed to be. I also quit my corporate job of 20 years and went all in on my coaching business because the mindset work I did on my body gave me the confidence to bet on myself in every other area of my life too. If you are doing everything right and you still feel like something is wrong, you're not crazy. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You just haven't had the right strategy yet. And that's not your fault. Everything I'm building on this channel is for you. It's built around what actually worked for me, what works for all the women that I coach. It's not the generic eat less, move more stuff that keeps failing you. It's not the flashy, cut out a whole food group crap. It is the real strategy. So here's what I want you to do right now. 2 things. 1, hit subscribe because I want to post every week and I don't want you to miss what's coming. 2, drop a comment below. Tell me which part of my story hit home for you. I read every single one and I respond. See you next week.